And I thank you so much for joining for this session. This is just a really fun session for me to do. I do happen to be a Swiftie. I would say I'm kind of a later in life Swiftie. I probably started listening to her music 2 or 3 years ago, and I just love it. I love listening to Taylor Swift. I love learning from her, and that's really the essence of this session is really taking some of the things that she has done in her career and really thinking about her approach to building curiosity among her fan base, really building community among her fan base, and how we can bring that into the classroom. Thanks so much for saying hi in the chat. I love that you're a Swiftie too, Patty. That's fantastic. And 6th to 8th grade art. So my husband teaches art, and he is going back to the classroom after being a principal for a few years, and he's so excited to be teaching art. So that's an amazing area. He taught ceramics too for lots and lots of years at the high school level. So amazing. Well, we are gonna just jump in here, and I'm gonna introduce myself. I am Tisha Richmond, and I have been in education about 25 plus years. I have been in the career and technical education classroom. I taught culinary arts, which is its own form of art, right? And also I did some interior design as well, and went to the district and was a tech integration specialist for about 5 years. Now I am a full-time consultant. I consult for Canva as a learning consultant, as well as do some of my own work that revolves around the books that I have written. I wrote the book Make Learning Magical, the EduProtocols Companion Guide, which is an ebook of Canva templates created for EduProtocols Book 1, and a children's book that I created with my son. And I wrote the story, and he illustrated all of the pictures in this book. And it's just a near and dear to my heart project. I have shared all of the ways that you can connect with me on the page here, but also in that website link that I shared with you. So please feel free to reach out if you have questions later or just want to connect. I love getting to connect with educators because I learn so much from you. And so my journey has definitely been really getting connected on social media and really getting to know educators and what magic they bring to their own classroom spaces. So anyway, would love to connect. And the essence of this session is really about how we can pique curiosity in the classroom, because curiosity really is the spark that ignites the fire for learning and really creates this classroom environment where exploration and wonder happen. And I know over the years in my own class, the more that I brought in those little pieces that allowed my students to be curious learners, the more that learning came alive for them, but also the more I had fun teaching, because when we can get students curious about learning, it's really contagious, and we kind of feed off of that energy that it brings. And the really powerful piece of this is that it's not just great for learning, it is great for life and for the workforce as well. And so when you look at the data, when you look at the World Economic Future of Jobs report, this one was 2023, you can see in those top 6 skills that our workforce is needing, curiosity is in the top 6, and lifelong learning. And I think it's important for us to understand that it doesn't matter what grade of students we teach, we can build in those pieces that are going to pique our students' curiosity and really help them to be lifelong learners. Because when we prepare them to going out into this world and being part of a workforce, that it's telling us these statistics right here are telling us that the workforce needs students who are lifelong learners, that are curious. But then when we look even further at this report and we look at skills that are continuing to rise, curiosity has now stepped up to 4, meaning not only is curiosity crucial and important in the workplace right now, that is not going away. In fact, it's rising and becoming more and more important. And again, the more reason for us to be able to build in curiosity into our classrooms. And then when businesses are looking at reskilling and upskilling and those skills that they really need to provide for their staff, their current staff, the curiosity and lifelong learning is again right up there in the top of skills that our workforce is needing to make sure they invest in providing for their current employers. And so I just like to start with that because I think it just helps us remember how important this is and how we need to think of intentional ways that we are building it in to our classroom learning, again, no matter what grade that we teach. Curiosity in the classroom ignites a lifelong love of learning, empowering students to explore, question, and innovate in an ever-changing world. And I think that's the thing, right? Our world is changing so fast. When we think about just the last couple years and how much AI has kind of taken over all of our conversations and really has kind of thrown a lot of districts for a loop because of like, oh my gosh, we need to have policy in place. What are we going to do? Do we want students to use it? Do we not want students to use it? In what capacity do we want them to use it? And we know that it's a part of our world, whether we like it or not, right? And so we need to equip them with the skills for being in a world where this technology exists. But the truth of the matter is it's just going to continue to change, right? And what's important today and what's happening in AI today is going to change next year, and it's just going to continue to evolve, and life is going to continue to evolve. So how can we really prepare our students for that ever-changing world? So we are going to dive in and learn a little bit from Taylor Swift today. And I have captured a couple clips that really were the clips that made my wheels start turning and thinking, oh my goodness, Taylor is doing some really clever things here that I think that we as educators can learn from and think about how it could apply to the classroom setting. So I'm going to play this video and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it and share with you some of the ideas that I have been pondering.
I was 14 and 15 putting together my first album, and I wanted to do something that incentivized fans to read the lyrics, because the lyrics are what I'm most proud of out of everything that I do, every aspect of my job, so I really wanted people to read the lyrics. Okay. And my lyrics for my first, several albums, I would have all lowercase letter lyrics, except for capital letter, capital letter, capital letter every once in a while. And if they circled the capital letter and wrote them down, it spelled out a secret code, a secret passage, a sort of fun. It was really fun, and it would either tell them a story about the album or a hint about what the song was about. And so that's when it started, but when it got out of control was when I started to realize that it wasn't just me that had fun with this, that they had fun with it too.
That last line really got to me because I think about that. I think about it wasn't just fun for me. She says it was fun for them too. And I am a big advocate for bringing in fun into learning, because when we can create fun, magical learning experiences for students, things stick and things resonate and students connect and they start to love learning, which we want them to do for a lifetime, right? We want them to love learning. And I think when we can find these creative ways to build in curiosity into our classroom, it's fun. It's fun for us and it's fun for students. And that is really the key there. And there was something else that really struck me about this little clip. And that is, she said that the lyrics of her songs were important to her. And she wanted those lyrics to be important for her fans too. And she wanted to incentivize reading those lyrics, right? She wanted them to pay closer attention to the lyrics that she wrote because they meant something to her. And I think about that in the context of the classroom learning environment, right? And the content that we are preparing for our students, the content that we know is important for their learning, we want them to value that as important as well. We don't want it to just be important for us. We know it's important. We want our students to see the value. And so, what are the things that we can do to help them pay closer attention, right? To maybe read things a little bit closer than they typically do. And so, I think we can really kind of conceptualize and think about, okay, what does this look like in the classroom environment? So I'm going to be sharing with you some ideas that I have been pondering how we can Swiftify learning, Swiftify lessons with Easter eggs in the classroom. And I really want you all to process this in the context of your own grade level that you teach, your own subject area, and really think about, okay, what would this look like in my classroom? Or thinking about what Taylor Swift just said, what is resonating with me? And what are those ideas that I can innovate from, right? And so please engage in the chat. If you have an aha, if you have an idea, if you have a thought about how this would connect to your classroom, please share it because we all can learn from each other. So I'm going to start with this idea of a secret code. And I am going to show you this recipe. So I taught culinary arts, right? And so recipes were something that I wanted my students to pay close attention to. I wanted them to read thoroughly because I knew that if they read the recipe and truly were able to understand the recipe, their food was going to come out much better. They were going to have less mistakes. They were going to be much happier with the recipe. And so in this recipe, I have done some things differently. And so if you can see what these changes are, I'm gonna show you a little bit more of an obvious example on the next page. But and if you can figure out what it is, you can put it in the chat. But I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about what are those things that you want students to pay closer attention to in your classroom. So it might be directions. Maybe your students kind of just kind of skim over directions and don't read it very close. Or maybe you want to have some writing that they read, and maybe you go in and you make some changes to that writing and alter that in some way. But think about what those things are. What are those things that you could maybe build in a secret code to? So I am going to I'm going to show you the next page is going to show this a little bit easier. You're going to be able to spot it a little bit easier. But think about that. And if you have an idea of what is something in your class that you could build in a secret code for, then please let us know. And I would love to hear what that is. So let's look at this next example. I'm going to show you where the secret code is. So you can see that I built it in here. I have the M up here, the A, the G, the I, the C, the A, and the L. And those are letters in this recipe that are capitalized that shouldn't be, right? We know that we have capital letters at the beginning of a word. We know that we have a capital letter here for the brand name for the mixer, but these other capital letters are misplaced and are not supposed to be there. And so if you were going to do this with your students and you were going to build in a secret code into directions and activity, whatever it is that you're having them read, you're not going to tell them that there's a secret code there. That would take away the excitement of it all. You're just going to do it, and you're going to see if they say anything. Now, the very first time you do this, you might want to have it a little bit more obvious. So you can see in this example here, it's a little bit more obvious. It's a little bit easier to spot. If I was to go back to that previous copy, it's a little bit trickier. So you can kind of gauge the age of your kids, how perceptive they all are, and if you want to make it a little bit more obvious or a little bit more obscure, but let them see if they can figure it out, right? And somebody might just come up to you and say, hey, did you mean to like capitalize these letters? Or I think that this spells something. Does it spell something? And then once the class kind of realizes that you've done this, that you've hidden this secret code, they're going to start paying attention. And the next thing that you give them, the next activity, they might pay closer attention. They might read it a little bit closer. So I think that this could be really powerful, but really how simple is this, right? We already have those things that we have docs or PDFs, whatever it might be in our class that we've used and over again. Just go in and make those little changes and see what happens. So I think this is really fun. And then you might think about, well, what happens when they guess the secret code, right? It could be a lot of things. It could be something consumable. So in my classroom, that might have been, giving them extra ingredients for a recipe. In your class, that might be that they get to sit in the spinning chair for the day. Maybe you have one chair that everybody fights over, right? Or maybe there's a pen that everybody fights over, or maybe you give them this opportunity to unlock choice. And so whoever, might find that secret code first, maybe you do this even in teams, right? Where teams in your class can be trying to find it. Then maybe that team is going to get choice unlocked in an assignment or an activity that's coming up. Maybe they get a chance card. This is something that I love to do in my classes, is create these chance cards that are essentially cards that unlock incentives or things that kids are always asking for. So I'll give you an example. In my culinary class, students were always wanting a few things. They would always want extra cheese and chocolate chips. That was a given. They would want to leave class early. They would want to use my Keurig machine that I had in the front of my room for like a chai or a hot chocolate or coffee or something. They would sometimes want to sit next to a friend, right? And so you put those things that students are always asking for on a chance card. And I'm going to add this to the resource website that I've created for you, a template for this, so you can create your own. But then I would laminate them, cut them out, put them in a bowl. And so maybe whoever got that secret code word first, they might get to pick one of those cards out of the bowl to redeem it at a time of choice, right? So lots of ways that you can use those, but it can be really, really fun. And again, this is simple. Like, we're not changing our lessons. We are just simply changing our written activities in some way where those secret codes are built in. I love in the chat, let's see here, untitled art history bio with artist's name or movement hidden in the text. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea, Patty. I love that. Okay, so now I want you to just think about this idea of a code word. Maybe within your unit of study, there is a code word that you are going to build in where it unlocks something, right? And maybe you let students know that there's going to be a code word, but maybe you bring in a code word to an assignment, or maybe when you're giving your instructions or a lecture, whatever it might be, maybe you sneak this code word in. Maybe you sneak the code word up onto your bulletin board, right? And you see if students can figure out what this code word is each unit. And maybe the first team that guesses what the code word is going to unlock something. Very similarly to the incentives that I mentioned before for the secret code that you hide into those directions. So I think some fun ideas there that you can think about. Another thing I've thought about too is maybe a code word is going to unlock like a special guest that you're going to invite in on Zoom or something within the unit of study. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can approach this, but I think it's kind of exciting. I was doing a Facebook Live not too long ago, and my publisher, author Dave Burgess of Teach Like a Pirate, was in the chat, and he said in his class he had a password. He called it a password instead of a code word that that students had to be able to figure out before they would be invited to this special like speak easy lesson that he had. And so that could be an unlocking, right? Something for kids, which is really kind of fun. And then I love this idea of a scavenger hunt, and this can look a lot of different ways, but I'm going to share with you a clip that Taylor Swift again shared. And I think it just made me think of scavenger hunts in a totally different way. So give it a listen.
They're planning a music video, and I know that it'll be really fun for them if we create like a scavenger hunt throughout the video.
Whoops, I'm sorry. I want to try to make that louder, but I'm not sure that I can.
They're planning a music video, and I know that it'll be really fun for them if we create like a scavenger hunt throughout the video. Like, to me, that's more fun than when I used to make videos and I didn't try to plant clues.
Yeah.
Like, I love this. It's it's all bred from the fact that they've let me know over the years that they really are looking for every single detail, so that if they weren't interested in the details, then I wouldn't have fun putting them in the video. But I try to do Easter eggs in like kind of first round is like stuff that they can see that predicts what will happen in a couple months. There's also like second tier Easter eggs, which will be revealed upon the album. Then there's third tier Easter eggs, which are the most deeply embedded Easter eggs, which will be like shown on the tour.
So I love that she thinks about these scavenger hunts in tiers. Like that is truly next level, right? And so as I was kind of processing this and thinking about, okay, like what could this look like in your classroom? And I love the idea of having some type of a breakout box, right? And you could have a breakout, like one of the actual breakout EDU boxes, if your district has them and you're able to check them out, that could be one avenue. Those boxes come with a variety of different locks, the letter locks, the shape locks, the number locks, the key locks, all of them. But you also could go to your hardware store and get a toolbox that has a little hasp for a lock. And I have noticed at my own hardware stores in the Valley, and I think even like Home Depot and Lowe's and some of those national chains, they have locks that are more than just the number lock, right? I have seen the letter locks. I've seen directional locks. Sometimes you can go on Amazon, you can buy them as well. And so what if you had a box, and if you had a breakout EDU box with all the hasps, you could have more than one lock on that box as well. Maybe something's hidden inside. And throughout that unit, you are releasing clues that they need to find to unlock this box. Now, you could do this as an individual challenge. I think it's even better when you do it as a collaborative challenge, because now maybe one person finds one clue and another person finds another clue, and now they have to work together to try to bring all those clues together to solve the lock. But let's think about where these clues can be hidden. You could hide them in little things, like little like pages of your, like a slide deck, right? When you're presenting to the class. Maybe you hide these clues in instructions. Maybe it's a digital instruction, and maybe if they just happen to click on the picture on that instruction, if it's a PDF, it opens up a clue, right? Or maybe there is a hidden word on that page that's in white text on white background that they won't see, but if they happen to click on it, it opens up the clue. Or maybe there is some text highlighted that opens up the clue. So many things that you can do in a digital way. Maybe on your whiteboard, where maybe you're posting your daily objectives or your standards, or maybe even the class schedule, maybe there's something up there that's a clue that if they just happen to see it, it's going to make them realize that that has to do with the lock. You could hide digital clues in your classroom. Maybe it's puzzle pieces, and you put all the puzzle pieces in different locations, and maybe they have something written on the back of them. If they put them all together, it's going to say something. That could be something you do. You could put clues on your bulletin boards in your classroom, maybe on worksheets or activities that you're handing out in a printable form. Maybe you hide things in books. Maybe if your students are reading textbooks, I know a lot of our textbooks now are digital, but maybe there's books in your classroom that if they happen to open it, they're going to find the clue. In my class, it could have been recipes, right? You all have those things that you use in your content area. You could do something really subtle in like, you don't have to wear a full costume, like this banana costume on the bottom. However, you could wear little things on your clothes, right? Maybe it's a little pin, or maybe it's like you've taped something to your shirt or your outfit that they just happen to see it. They're going to be like, oh, like that. I think that might have something to do with this. So that is something that you can think about. But let's look at this idea of tiers that Taylor Swift is talking about. And in tier one, maybe you are hiding codes in things, just like I shared with that secret code idea. Maybe you're hiding codes in recipes or directions or activities, and you're trying to find out what that secret word is. Tier two might be that you are hiding secret links in your digital content. Maybe when they click on those links, it's going to open up a photo or maybe even a video clue. It's so easy for us to create videos now, even if we do it on our phone or we do it in a free platform like Canva, we can easily create those little video clips. And then the third tier would be QR codes that you either hide in physical locations. So maybe they open up a cupboard or they look on the bulletin board and there's just a random QR code there for them to scan. You could hide them in digital locations as well, but maybe when they scan it, it's going to open up a clue. So think about that layering. Like, what are ways that we could layer in tiers these clues within a unit? And I want to also just point out the fact that we really haven't changed our lessons, right? We haven't changed the way that we're teaching. We are changing the way we're teaching them and that we're hiding these things, but really it's not anything different about the way that these lessons are taught. It's just kind of this background thing that we're adding that is going to add a whole other layer of engagement and curiosity in our classroom. And it's going to help our students maybe pay a little bit more attention to the details and the things that we are wanting them to pay more attention to, right? I also love thinking about this idea of digital escape rooms. And I've done this a number of ways. I have done digital escape rooms in like a Google site. I have done escape rooms in Canva. That is my new favorite now. There's lots of different things that you can do to be able to help them like find these clues, unlock these things. And this could be something that you do as an activity in your class, right? Where that day you spend maybe 60 minutes, you've created this escape room for them that they're trying to break into. But it also could be something that's happening in the background as well. And so maybe every unit you release this digital escape room, and when they have those extra 10 minutes at the end of class, right? Or they have some free time, maybe them and their team or a partner are trying to unlock these clues that, again, all of it can be connected to the content that you teach, but it also can maybe unlock things like choice in your classroom, maybe unlock special incentives in your classroom. And again, just adds that whole layer of curiosity. So I'm going to show you an example here of a breakout room that I created in Canva. And what I love about creating these in Canva, first of all, it's Canva for Education is 100% free, but you can link everything. You can link photos, you can link graphics, you can link words, so everything. So when I click on that, so I'm going to go back and show you what I did. I clicked on this kind of glowing thing. She's pointing to it in the picture, but when I clicked on that kind of glow in the tree, it brought me to this page. And now you can see in this page, if you look really closely, I have all of these keys that are hidden. So I just brought in a key. I changed the transparency so it was a little lighter. And when I click on that key, it's going to open up this form that a student can fill out. So let's say I click on next here. And I have an article for them to read and this little clue. And they're having to unlock this 2-word letter lock. And what I love with a Google form is that you can add that response validation. So they have to put in the exact code and it will tell them if they got it wrong. So it'll say, good try, try again, right? But I have built in this to this form. So every single one of these keys is unlocking another clue that they're having to try to solve. If I go back to this first page again, and I did that by clicking on the eye that was in the tree, if I click around, I'm going to notice other clues. So when I click on that bird, a little message is going to come up that the bird is saying. I can go back home again, and maybe I click on the treasure box, and I'm going to realize that if I click on the treasure box, this is where I'm going to put the final code. So once all of the other codes are figured out, I'm going to be able to type in the code that's going to unlock the treasure chest. And so I have actually shared with you all of the pieces of this particular breakout that I have created so that you can just create your own. And so you could go in and maybe change the avatar or the Bitmoji to look like you, right? Maybe you could change the background. You can do anything that you want. You can change all of the clues, but maybe instead of these keys linking to my Google form, it could link to your Google form and be able to allow you to create these clues that would connect to your content. So I wanted to share with you all the pieces so that you can conceptualize it and so that you can create one of your own. And I'm going to go into my kind of the background of this so that you can see let me see if I have it here. I thought I brought it in. This is the website that's going to give you all of these pieces here. Let me just go ahead and open this up. So if you click on any one of these, it's going to take you into the template. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this one here. And it's going to give you some little clues to how you can link things. And so here on this message in a bottle, right now it is locked in place. But if I unlock that, I can go in and I can link this message in a bottle to something. So if I pasted that link to the Google form here or to a clue, I can paste that, and then that is going to open up when students click on that link in the bottle. I can add my link to the final Google form here, on attach it to this little lock on the treasure chest. So I can go in, paste my lock, and now when students click on this lock of the treasure chest, it's going to open up that final form. I can click on this bird, and I can bring in a link to that bird message that I have created. And so you can see how you can layer in all of these things, and it does not have to be super complex, right? It could be that you only have like one form on this breakout that they're having to solve. You can make this very, very simple. I would consider fairly complex. It doesn't have to be complex. It can be very, very simple. So just think about that, what this could look like for a digital breakout for your students. Now, in order to share this, I would go up here to my share button, and I would share it with them with a view only link. And when I do that, it's going to make everything clickable. They'll be able to click on all the things, and it will open up the forum. It'll open up the bird message, all of it. So that's how you would go ahead and share this with students. Now, with any design in Canva, you can create a public view link, which means they don't have to have the Canva account to be able to interact with it. They do if they are going to edit something, but to interact with it, they don't have to have a Canva account at all. So anyway, just kind of sharing this idea. And I would, let's see what Kendra says, is your digital escape room set up as a presentation inside Canva or a web page? Really great question, actually. You could absolutely set it up as a web page, when I originally came up with this concept in Canva, the websites were not a thing yet. And so I hadn't done that. But yes, absolutely. The nice thing about websites in Canva, and I'll just kind of go to my main page here, is that when you create a website in Canva, you are going to be able to basically link all of these pages together, and these pages are movable. So notice how I can move this up and down. That is how I created that resource hub for all of you, is I created as a website and I just linked pages together. I use websites all the time now because it just is a great way to be able to create those resource hubs for students. So yes, great question, and absolutely. So anyway, think about that. Think about what those escape rooms could look like in your classroom, how you might be able to build them into your units of study, whether it is a standalone activity that you build in that students just all work on in teams, or if it's something that you kind of have in the background. And maybe when those students have that free time, they're trying to solve this breakout, and you're trying to see which team or which, students, if you do it individually, are going to break out by the end of, let's say, the unit. So when I think about this and I think about how and why we would bring this into learning, I think about the fact that when we build in those pieces that really pique student curiosity, it increases engagement, right? They are more in it. They are more, they are paying closer attention. They're more engaged in class. It also brings in that sense of wonder. And we all, I think, it's something that I really try to pay attention to in my own life, is really like seeing the wonder around me. And so when we can build in that wonder into classroom learning, it just creates an atmosphere where students love to learn, and we want students to love to learn. We want them to love learning their whole life. When they go outside of our class, they go into their next class or the next year, or go into the world after their K-12 experience. We want them to continue to want to learn. Also encourages critical thinking. They're having to think really critically about these clues, and a lot of times we're really fostering that collaboration, because maybe we build these experiences where they have to work together. They have to put those clues together to kind of solve the problem. And that's one of the things that I love about breakout experiences. And I've done a lot of breakout EDU experiences in my time teaching. But I love to see students come together, because one student's idea might pique and spark somebody else's idea, and they need those ideas in unison to be able to solve something, right? And so really also fosters that communication too, and that creative thinking. Also, it allows students to dive deeper in exploring topics. And so though I'm talking about these clues as it's just like fun and all of these clues can tie to your content. So they can be things that are allowing students to maybe dive deeper into the content than they would have before. And then it also builds community and is just flat out fun, right? And when we're having fun, our students are having fun. Fun is contagious. Any emotion is contagious. And so when we can build that fun into classroom learning, it is going to create a better experience for all of us. And so I would really love to hear how you are thinking of Swiftifying learning this year. And I learned a trick today, and we're going to see if this trick works. But even if you do not have Canva, you should be able to open up this whiteboard. And the way that you open it up, if you don't have Canva, is if you go to your incognito window here and paste this link in. I'm going to paste it in the chat in just a second. It should open and allow you to interact with it. So we're going to test this out, because I just actually learned this trick yesterday. I'm going to paste this in the chat, and we're going to see if you're able to open it. And on this whiteboard, I want you to add your ideas and your questions, your ahas as you're learning about this. And to do that, what I want you to do is you can do one of two things. You can either click an S on your keyboard when you're in this board, and it should give you a Post-it or sticky note. You can also go into elements over here on the sidebar, and the sticky note should pop right up, and you can simply click on a sticky note and it should add to your whiteboard. Now, because we are in incognito mode, we're not going to see your names unless you have a Canva account. If you are opening this up in your Canva account, we will see your name. So go ahead and type your ideas and questions here. And I'm going to go down to the bottom of my screen, and I am going to set the timer for just 2 minutes, because we are right here at the end of our time together. I'm going to add some energetic music. And if you, for some reason, are not able to get into this whiteboard, feel free to add your thoughts in the chat too. That is perfectly fine. I did share link to Canva. Oh, thank you. So again, if you are not able to get into the whiteboard, or you're not quite sure how to work it, feel free to add your thoughts in the chat. That's perfectly fine. Yes, the chance cards are so fun. And what I love is you can create those chance cards for just things your students are always asking for. Just start making a list. Whenever your students ask for something in class, make a list and make that a chance card, and they have to earn it. Instead of giving in to them and just letting them do it, now they have to earn it by getting a chance card. Yes, have them make a list. That's brilliant, Kendra, for sure. Yay, I'm glad that you love that for social studies, Vicki. So many things. This is a whole other topic area, but I gamified my class with the Amazing Race, and that would be a really great theme for social studies. And so every unit we were exploring different parts of the world, and I would bring in detours and roadblocks and some of those challenges from the Amazing Race. It was so much fun. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much just for sharing those thoughts and ideas. And I just think that there's so much potential here, really just bringing in that curiosity into classroom learning in so many ways. I just think that there's the possibilities are endless. And you may have noticed that there are some puzzle pieces throughout this presentation that had letters on them. So if you happen to pay attention and see those letters and see if it spelled out something, put that in the chat. I'm going to give you just a moment to see if anybody got it. Again, I didn't tell you this was coming, so I was just tricky. I added it in. Some of you might have noticed, well, that's weird. Why would she have a puzzle piece right there? But if you figured it out, go ahead and add it to the chat. And I'm going to reveal in just a minute what it was. And so again, things like that. It doesn't have to be a huge deal. You might have a presentation you're giving kids and you just hide these things in the presentation and see if they figured it out. All right, no one? Last chance. Anybody figure it out? It's spelt out Swift-ify. So I had some puzzle pieces that were scattered throughout this presentation, one on just each one on random pages throughout, not on every page, but random pages. And it spelled out Swift-ify. And so again, think about what that could look like for you if you were going to do that in maybe some of your presentations as you start the school year, right? I have had such a fun time with you all. So thank you so much for including me in this awesome event. There are lots of ways that you can connect with me. All of these all of these links are in that website that I shared with you. I am going to drop that link in the chat again for those of you who were not here at the beginning of the session. I also am starting to do more YouTube videos. And so if you click on that link, you're going to find my YouTube videos. It's going to build. I'm going to continue building more and more in. So would love for you to subscribe. I also have 2 podcasts, the Make Learning Magical podcast, which I linked a Swift-ify episode on that website as well. And I also host Spark Joy and EDU with my colleague and friend, Elizabeth Bostwick. So I would love for you to check those out. And I am just going to bounce back to the beginning of my presentation. This is the link that you want to type in to access all of the resources that I have shared with you. So you can type that in. I also added it into the chat. And I just thank you all so much for coming today. This has been so much fun. And please reach out if you have any questions, have any ideas. Keep adding those ideas to that whiteboard. It's in that website resource. So you have that to check out everybody's ideas too. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate you.